Hello, this is Heidi giving you a tour of my third semester studio practice. Welcome to my secret clubhouse, my messy, cluttered space all of my own. Early in the semester, I lost access to this space due to the pandemic. This was especially difficult on my practice, and I had to navigate creating in new and different ways. Initially, I felt stymied by the loss of my studio. To keep my hands busy, I made several blubby dolls similar to the work I presented last residency. Although the tactile busy work was satisfying, the faceless ambiguity of these forms felt big and lifeless. They lacked agency. I needed to tackle this as a problem in my future work. I challenged myself at home to make do with resources around me and worked on creating Brenda dolls. A Brenda is a term I invented some time ago to blatantly categorize the usually white women I encounter that schlep diet culture nonsense and sling uninvited fat microaggressions wherever they go. I even began to write down common things that Brenda would say. Thinking about how my dolls work with my audience, I remembered one critique from last residency. A male attendee playing with the blubby dolls exclaimed that they all had fupas. I was instantly transported back to my late teens when I first heard the term, an acronym for fat upper pussy area. I thought about my younger self internalizing this term. In my research, I was exploring fat experience in the isolation of quarantine. I started to build the blubby quarantine cottage. I pondered more closely on what it is that our physical forms bring to the human connections we build with each other. How is our new life in isolation changing that experience? Moving away from dolls and into costume and fashion and make-believe, I began to sketch all sorts of ideas for wearable blubby contraptions. There was a Zoom fat neck roll bib, a fat fupa apron, and the hairy booty enhancer. I contemplated these items. Who would be wearing them, myself or others? Is wearing these items part of a performance on Fat Experience? Eventually, I sketched Grandma Breadloaf arms. The note says, hug your grandma again, snug in the breadloaf puff of her upper arms. And I realized I figured out how to describe the specific kind of intent of pleasure I want to generate. It relates to fat tenderness. I was also pleased with the absurdity and uncanniness of the sketch. Bringing my work together into a more concrete form was starting to happen. Our residency was moving into a virtual format. I knew I needed to photograph my work, but where would it happen? I realized it had to happen in the blubby quarantine cottage. I built a kitchen set for a green screen backdrop. With my artist mentor's encouragement, I decided that video, not photography, would be the best medium for bringing together the story of Grandma Breadloaf Farms. I built storyboards for the scenes of my video as a starting point. At first, I thought just the scene of the arms would be the entire piece, but soon I realized that the story felt unfinished. Honestly, I don't know why video production sounded so intimidating to me at first. It was absolutely a joy and totally fun to put together. I accepted that the result would be campy, kitschy, and a little rough around the edges. I filmed it all with my cell phone. I wanted to elicit a tenderness, playfulness, and an uncanny nature. I broke up scenes 1 and 3 in the kitchen with the Brendas, which I had filmed first. I was getting comfortable with the camera and my voice. I ended up being pleased with the weird animation of this work, their freshly judgmental and almost banal kinds of conversations. In deciding that the Breadloaf Arms piece wasn't finished, I knew I wanted to introduce a new voice, that the bread itself was a character in the story. Using food inside the arms is like the conundrum of our relationship with comfort, flesh, and how we feed our emotions. The bread lashes out, and I wonder if it's possible to love oneself without also setting up someone else to hate.